This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe, where I read a few pages from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And then I open the room and we discuss. So today, according to my version of the book, I'll be reading pages 208 to 210, which is the completion of chapter 12. And the focus appears to be faith and fear cannot coexist. Let's get started, shall we? Near the top of page 208. If you are an observing person, you must have noticed that most people resort to prayer only after everything else has failed, or else they pray by a ritual of meaningless words. And because it is a fact that most people who pray do so only after everything else has failed, they go to prayer with their minds filled with fear and doubt, which are the emotions the subconscious mind acts upon and passes on to infinite intelligence. Likewise, that is the emotion which an infinite intelligence receives and acts upon. If you pray for a thing, but have fear as you pray that you may not receive it, or that your prayer will not be acted upon by infinite intelligence, your prayer will have been in vain. Prayer does sometimes result in the realization of that for which one prays. If you have ever had the experience of receiving that for which you've prayed, go back to your memory and recall your actual state of mind while you were praying, and you will know for sure that the theory here described is more than a theory. The time will come when the schools and educational institutions of the country will teach the science of prayer. Moreover, then prayer may be and will be reduced to a science. When that time comes, and it will come as soon as mankind is ready for it and demands it, no one will approach the universal mind in a state of fear. Ignorance, superstition, and false teaching will have disappeared, and man will have attained his true status as a child of infinite intelligence. A few have already attained this blessing. If you believe this prophecy is far-fetched, take a look at the human race in retrospect. Less than 100 years ago, men believed the lightning to be evidence of the wrath of God and feared it. Now, thanks to the power of faith, men have harnessed the lightning and made it turn the wheels of industry. Much less than 100 years ago, men believed the space between the planets to be nothing but a great void, a stretch of dead nothingness. Now, thanks to this same power of faith, men know that far from being either dead or void, the space between the planets is very much alive, that it is the highest form of vibration known, excepting perhaps the vibration of thought. Moreover, men know that this living, pulsating, vibratory energy which permeates every atom of matter and fills every niche of space connects every human brain with every other human brain. What reason have men to believe that the same energy does not connect every human brain with infinite intelligence? There are no toll gates between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. The communication costs nothing except patience, faith, persistence, understanding, and a sincere desire to communicate. Moreover, the approach can be made only by the individual himself. Paid prayers are worthless. Infinite intelligence does no business by proxy. You either go direct or you do not communicate. You may buy prayer books and repeat them until the day of your doom without avail. Thoughts which you wish to communicate to infinite intelligence must undergo transformation, such as can be given only through your own subconscious mind. The method by which you may communicate with infinite intelligence is very similar to that through which the vibration of sound is communicated by radio. If you understand the working principle of radio, you of course know that sound cannot be communicated through the ether until it has been stepped up or changed into a rate of vibration which the human ear cannot detect. The radio sending stations picks up the sound of the human voice and scrambles or modifies it by stepping up the vibration millions of times. Only in this way can the vibration of sound be communicated through the ether. After this transformation has taken place, the ether picks up the energy, which originally was in the form of vibrations of sound, carries that energy to radio receiving stations, and these receiving sets step that energy back down to its original rate of vibration so it is recognized as sound. The subconscious mind is the intermediary, which translates one's prayers into terms which infinite intelligence can recognize, presents the message, and brings back the answer in the form of a definite plan or idea for procuring the object of the prayer. Understand this principle, and you will know why mere words read from a prayer book cannot and will never serve as an agency, communication between the mind of man and infinite intelligence. Before your prayer will reach infinite intelligence, a statement of the author's theory only, it probably is transformed from its original thought vibration into terms of spiritual vibration. Faith is the only known agency which will give your thoughts a spiritual nature. Faith and fear make poor bedfellows. Where one is found, the other cannot exist. And that's it. Good morning, everybody. We have Brian, Cindy, Lisa, Sandra, Vanessa, Eric, Rob. Glad to have you with us this morning. It was a short read. It was the completion of chapter 12. So those of us who pray and have had prayers answered, I'm one of those, I get what he's saying, because prayer backed by faith gets answered. That's been my experience. But I'm also pretty cautious in my own religious upbringing. So this is something I'm going to wrestle with a little bit in this discussion. My religious upbringing tells me that praying for myself isn't a good thing. Prayer should be in the form of accepting what God gives me. Praying for other people and other things, and in groups and what have you, offering up prayers. That's my religious teachings. So I do pray for myself and have had pretty cool things happen because of it, because it was backed by the faith that this infinite intelligence is going to bring it. But verbalizing that is a little uncomfortable for me. And it comes from that religious teachings that I've had. So anybody want to jump in and share your thoughts about what was read? We have, can faith and fear coexist? I don't think so. One of the sayings that I often share with those who are in that constant state of worry, I ask if they pray. That's all I ask. And often than not, they'll say yes. So I say, well, if you have faith and you pray, why worry? So if you pray, why worry? If you worry, why pray? Worry means that I'm taking control back, and I think I can do it all. Faith and prayer says, I know that there's something greater than me. I'm going to call it the infinite intelligence that is stated in Napoleon Hill, what he calls it. There's something greater than me that I can tap into, that I can communicate with. And the only way I can communicate is through prayer. Anybody who has difficulty with that word is through meditation, is through quiet communication, and backed by faith that it's going to happen. Or maybe, all right, this is what happens when you guys leave me to my own devices. The brain gets to going. Or maybe it's backed by not the faith that it's going to happen, but the faith that it's being heard. I wonder if that's just as important. We have Matt and Brian coming on in. There you are, Matt. Good morning. Good morning, Brian. Good to see you both.
We must be blood brothers or something, because we did this the other day.
Two of my favorite fellas coming to join me. Love it.
Go ahead, man. I'm going to grab coffee. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I didn't have a religious upbringing, so I've done a lot of reading of religions and different spiritualities. So I can see the importance of like he says, infinite intelligence, and a lot of religions have names for that, like the Brahman and the Tao, they all have some name for this higher intelligence, and I think the key definitely is having the faith and the awareness to know that it exists, and being able to just have the awareness to connect with it through the power of faith. I don't know. Do you think faith and hope are the same thing? Because I hear a lot, like when I think of hope, hope to me doesn't seem very action oriented. It seems sort of like it's sort of an expectation and waiting, and then faith does seem more like it's action oriented, like you're acting on thought instead of just waiting for something to happen.
That's an excellent way to put it, Matt. Because I don't believe that they're the same thing.
Yeah, because he does have both of them on the list up there for those 10 elements. He's got faith and hope.
Exactly, he's got them separated.
Mm-hmm.
And
the major
I
positive
believe they should
emotions.
be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the major positives, and it's because they are separate, just as desire is separate from enthusiasm. Right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And I like the way you put it, that hope is passive and faith is not. What do you think, Brian? Did you hear any of that?
Oh, yeah, I heard it all. Trust
Okay.
my neighbors can hear you. They're part of your Think and Grow Rich morning ritual too, by force. I think that faith is active.
Yeah.
I think that hope is active. I think they're both an active state. If we have no hope, what good is there if we lose hope? If you can lose it, how can it not be active?
Yeah, I wrestle with it a lot because faith. So really, I don't know. I've watched a lot of Jim Carrey, and I found out that he has read Eckhart Tolle. So I read a whole audiobook only to find out somebody that I've watched as an actor is actually into something that I actually enjoy. And one of the quotes he says is, "Hope is kind of like a beggar. It is like still kind of action oriented, but when hope walks through the fire, faith leaps over it. Faith sort of jumps into it. So maybe they are both action oriented, but maybe faith is more the act of doing something, and hope is more of the result. I hope this happens. That's a focus on results. Faith is, I'm going to do this. I don't know what's going to happen, but something good's going to hopefully hopefully something good will come out of it. That's an attachment to some sort of expectation. Faith is, I love doing this. I'm going and facing uncertainty. Here we go. Let's do it. So that to me is, but you could have that faith. I have faith that something good will come out of this. So maybe that's the hope part. No. Expectation, action.
How many circles are we going to go?
I don't know.
How many loop backs are you going to do, Matt?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Let you just go and see how many you come up with?
I have to be able to get to work on time, so I can't be here forever.
All right, so we'll limit that for this morning only and continue, of course, tomorrow. It is tough to wrestle with. These are deep concepts. This isn't light reading, nor is it to be taken lightly. If this is the way that you want to go, if the changes you want to make in yourself so that you can think differently, feel differently, be different, be better, and grow yourself and your business and attain that which is your ultimate vision, your desire that you started with. This is deep stuff. That's why I'm glad you're willing to come on and try to wrestle with it.
Cindy has a good distinction. She says that hope is a wish and faith is a belief. So that's a good simple way to put it. I wish for this to happen, and faith is I believe this will.
And that makes sense in the context of what Napoleon Hill's telling us, because it's the faith that allows us to actually communicate with the infinite intelligence. And we have that sincere desire to communicate. We're talking about this as prayer, in the form of prayer. We're going to talk to or communicate with, tap into that infinite intelligence. And it is a private communication, which is what I'm reading here. Tell me if I'm the way I'm seeing it. It's a private communication between me and that infinite intelligence. that I am expressing what I want from that infinite intelligence. And go ahead.
It's about putting it out there too. I think an important part is that active putting it out there, and the ability, I think, to have the awareness to see how you're being received. Because I know I've done things like I've put out thoughts and I've had faith in certain things, and then I don't know, this is just the way I see it, but there are things that happen that are sort of signs. Like something will happen here and that'll be a highlight, and something will happen here. I try to look for a couple of those
indications of things being heard, or
exactly in some sort of manifestation of them. Like you put it out there and then it sort of comes back to you and you go, huh, well, that's really neat that happened. I wasn't like, I went to VidCon, right? I went to VidCon with the intention of meeting people that I've watched on YouTube, right? And I didn't like try to meet them. I didn't go out with a plan to meet them, but I was like, hey, that should be really cool if I could meet these people. And one of the best feelings, I think, is accomplishing things sometimes that you don't always expect to accomplish. Like I went and I shook the hands of one of my favorite people I watch, and I didn't even try to meet them. It just kind of happened. So stuff like that, not necessarily plans all the time, but things that you want to happen is that you put out there in terms of thought, and then you sort of appreciate what's received and what you get back.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Hebrews says about faith. It says, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So to me, that's the definition of it all.
Yeah.
Because hope is pretty self-explanatory. So anyway, I'll get off.
You don't have to leave, Brian. You're welcome to stay.
Brian,
Good morning.
Don't go yet, because I want to say this. Brian, what you said earlier is true. When you don't have hope, you almost have nothing. Because, I don't know who ever said, I don't recall the name, but he said that in your life that you must have someone to love, something to do, and something to hope for. Because a hope to me is not a passive, my young friend Matt. Hope is a starting point that initiates the thing that you going to do something, and faith is a dependency on the higher power in your deep roots of the thing that you are, have faith for. When you do something and you really intellectually, according to the book, that is, they have something to do with it, but faith that have to do with the emotion and the belief, the thing that you tied up with. But hope is the one that initiate everything, because if you don't see the potential for it, you won't do it. Something you have to hope for, something you have to believe, something you have to go after, because the hope is there. Without hope, you will not do anything. Without hope, you will not move, and without hope, you will not acting on anything that you believe. Because when you hope for something, that you have to put thinking about the potential of things turn out the way you hope for.
Yeah, if you don't have that, you're not going to move forward. You're going to lose your persistence.
That's correct. If you lose hope, you lose
the hopeless man, and I've met hopeless people. It's a horrifying.
I will say something more, and then I will leave. I come from the culture, and then have to stay in the concentration camp, everything, and then when they want to kill you slowly, they take out your hope. Mm-hmm. Because see, and if they just open the hope is that they open the small window, and you keep on driving and you keep on breathing, because you hope that you will get out, you will see in your family, you will be reunion with your loved one. But when they close the hope window, people die slowly without hope.
Man is marred by 1,000 cuts.
Yes.
And
excellent. Thank you for the reminder.
How I'm passionate about hope.
Yes.
Because
good.
I'm the author of Empowered by Hope.
There you go.
That's why I'm so glad you came on. I love that. I love that reminder of what it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but when you said hope, it's just like passive. I almost jumped in and said, "Oh man, it's not passive."
I'm to make a distinction between hope and faith, because when I hear hope a lot, and this is just from my perspective, Maybe people are using it wrong. Maybe the wrong idea is
No.
thinking it as passive.
That's your
Yeah,
perspective. You are correct.
It's not. Yeah,
But hope
yeah.
and faith have to accompany with each other, because
Exactly.
you have hope that the initial that you have to do something, faith to have belief that you will get there. Because that two things have to be in sync in order for it to work. Because we are the human, we are counting on our own belief, our higher device, higher self. Because and like I said, hope start you with something, and faith that will help you to finish your journey.
Yeah, I hear, I mean, maybe this is maybe my age. I hear people using hope as in, I hope this will happen. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to hope this happens to me. And that's maybe using hope in the wrong light. Maybe that's not the action-oriented version of hope. I have faith that this will happen. That sounds very action-oriented to me, as if you are taking action and doing things as a in the hope that there's going to be a specific result that you want. I guess I struggle with it too, because I hear those naysayers using hope in different ways, and it's like challenging me, because if there isn't a wrong way for them using it, then there's nothing for me to contrast that they're using it in a diluted way and I'm using it in a way with the infinite intelligence. So maybe the way they're using it is helping me focus on the right and correct way to communicate with that infinite intelligence. We have to have those other people to contrast to see the
Well, to look
right
deeper, to try to understand it, yes.
Yeah.
What I like about what Ha brought to the table is that it's the reminder to me that it is important. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the top 10 positive emotions listed by Napoleon Hill. And it's the beginning of, if I have hope tied to my desire, then I can move. That will keep me moving closer into the faith and connecting with that infinite intelligence. I have met hopeless people. It's a horrifying thing to see.
Yeah,
they are dead. They are
spiritually dead.
Yeah, they are.
Well,
there's nothing for them to live for. They're gone. I've met them, and it's we're not talking like hundreds and hundreds of people that I've met personally. Just a handful of people over my lifetime, and it is a horrifying thing to see. So I'm glad that I always had a niggle of hope somewhere, even in the darkest times, that there's something different. There's going to be something better.
That's when we need it too. That's when we need it, is during the hardships. Okay, I'm all set. So
okay.
I'll hop out here and give Brian a chance to speak.
What do you think, Brian?
I find it interesting that all of this is incorporated almost unconsciously with waiting. And waiting is active. Patience is active. All these things are active. Why do we consider hope and faith inactive?
That's an excellent point, because everything that Napoleon Hill is telling us in these principles he's covering is all about action. It's all towards improving the action, or giving support to the action, or encouraging the action. And they're all intertwined, right? I mean, taking just one piece for discussion is terrific. We're able to delve a little deeper. But I have to remember that this is all coming together so that it all becomes a part of who I am. So I thank you for that, Brian. I think you're right. I think all of it is a piece of what keeps the action going. So a question that I've got to throw out there is, can faith and fear coexist? Because according to Napoleon Hill, it can't.
I disagree.
Okay.
Let us hear you.
I'm afraid of heights. Because of the MS, I used to climb mountains and everything, and now because I fall frequently, more frequently than I wish, my fear incorporated in the heights that I still go to through my fear, I think it's my attempt to regain. But regardless, how do I put this into what I'm trying to say? I think when I climb those mountains and I get afraid, I'm still acting on it. I want to reach the top of every mountain I can.
But where's your faith placed?
Can I answer that,
Of
Shana?
course you can, huh?
Because
Yes.
I think that when you have faith, when you have fear, but you continue to go because you have the courage to go on and to go through. But faith, that if you have a faith, you believe in your own ability, because I mean, if you that thing cannot, it might exist, but you manage it, or you have the way that, okay, I'm afraid, but I'm going to well, because you're exercising the courage, you summon the courage within you. But then when faith, that it, you have to believe in your own ability. If nobody else but in you, or in the God, or in the universe, but in your case, you're talking about you have faith in your own ability.
Why do we consider fear such a negative thing?
It is not,
We
because
don't.
fear exists that make you, see, every man have to give birth to himself. Because when you're talking about fear, that means you not let fear defeating you. You let fear, defy you, in the sense of the positive, because now you are summoned the courage. You are the man of courage. You
I
see what I
think
mean? It's not a negative thing. Some people let fear paralyzing them, but faith have really helped you to bring up the courage within you to do the thing that you're afraid, but you do it anyhow. And you know why? Because you understand and you know your capability, your ability to go on. This thing is just like keep me going here. I'm on fire.
Yes.
But
Do it
that's
in
how I
spite
see
of.
it.
Now, so my own experience is something that's coming to mind is one of the ways that I'm able to do things that frighten me is that I have a quiet moment of prayer and I try to tap in. What I'm doing is I'm tapping into a little spot inside. I can visualize the spot inside, and that's where that infinite intelligence resides, whom I call God. And I tap into that. And as I tap into that through the prayer and then the meditation, the fear and that fright begins to dissipate. So it appears that they are coexisting, but in all honesty, what's happening is that when I tap in, I'm able to remove some of the fear because of the prayer and continue to move forward or do what needs to be done that frightened me and then get through it and look back and have that help to bolster, if you will, my faith in myself. But it doesn't really bolster my faith in my God. I have the faith in my God. And what's interesting to me is that I am still quite capable of completely forgetting that I have that faith in my God. I have that faith. If I'm pushed against horrifying things of which I've had, of tragedy, of excess, of intense fear, of just bad things, it's the faith that gets us through. It's the faith that there's a reason it's happening. It's not up to me right now to determine the reason, but we will get through this. I will get through this because my faith tells me that I will, and I can tap into that. So I don't know that, Sean, faith is often hidden until the challenge comes. So I don't know that they can, I think the image in my mind is that they can coexist, but it's because as I'm tapping into the faith, the fear is leaving. Does that make sense?
they're exact opposites of each other. But fear is there to keep us safe, too. I mean, my fear of heights is generally there so I don't do something stupid.
Well, that's different. That's different. And I'll tell you what's imaging in my mind about why I think that's different is you're acknowledging that there are real consequences for you to fall. And there's real possibilities that you will fall. That's your reality. That's not saying that you don't have faith in something. That's saying that you're acknowledging the reality of what the world is for you right now. The faith comes in that to take over the doubt, to remove the fear in the form of, again, doubt, and acknowledging that we really can do this. I'm going to do it in spite of my self-doubt, that sort of thing. I'm trying to put this in context with Napoleon Hill, because what he's saying is that when you he's actually saying that in his mind, you can truly remove all fear of your heights and your fear of falling by replacing it with faith.
And I agree
And
with
that's
him
where
totally.
I'm struggling to get a handle on it, to be able to even articulate it. Go ahead, huh? That's why I have
agree
you
with him
all in the room.
totally, because you don't take time to analyzing it, but it appear a tendon in tandem, because see, when something exists, and just like he said, the fear come in place, then the courage take over it, because that is that's how you manage it, because it not two things it come in at each other at the same time. One will take the place of another. In the courage within of you will be acknowledge the fear, but you subside it, or you dismiss it because your courage take over, because you cannot fear and courage together. I don't know, that on my own opinion, because again, I keep on bringing up, because where I coming from on the journey of the people, on the boat people, at time that I hang on my life by the, just like I'm on the cliffhanger, I hang on the cliffhanger by the tip of my fingernails. But that hope that I will be pass through it, a faith that I come to this life with some purpose, and I have purpose to serve, and I knowing that. That's why I keep on fighting. I fight for every ounce of energy I have, everything that I have. I love my father. I believe in the Buddhism. I believe in the Tao. But again, when you're talking about God, at that point, I pray anybody extend their hand to me, I grab it and gratefully, because that is the only thing matter to me at that moment, was just to survive, just to bring me to the next part of my life, of my journey.
Well, that's just it. I mean, prayer is answered, and it's not always in the form that I expect it to be answered in. So I need to be aware of what's happening around me and open to the solutions that are presented to me, or the answers to my prayers. And what you're describing, Ha, is that as you prayed and others came in to provide assistance in some manner, you accepted their assistance. And the same holds true in anything that I pray for, that I'm praying. It's not up to me. I guess it's not up to me to determine what exactly the solution is going to look like, right? Yeah. Because when I was formulating the new piece of my business and how it was going to look, and I have the end out there. You all know this. I read it every morning and every night. Yeah. I have my major definite purpose, and I'm focused, and yet I didn't know quite how it was going to happen. I wasn't sure how I was going to get this dollar amount that I have up there. I wasn't sure what it looked like in terms of the details, right? I knew what I was bringing to the table. I knew that I was capable, and I had faith that I had the abilities, but I also had faith that I would get the answers. So my prayers and my requests for guidance and my openness to the plans is what allowed me to be able to see the opportunities that align with who I am and what I'm working towards, so that they can become a part of the plan. And now the details are pretty much fleshed out, and the plan is in place, and things are happening, action is taking place, and I'm able to do that because I'm not stuck in my own head thinking that it had to look a particular way.
Which remind me the story of my mentor told me that when the floods had come into the one of the city, and then he prayed to God. He believed in God, so he prayed, that for his God to come save him. And then the guy with the roller boat and come and said, "Oh, hop on my boat. I will bring you to the dry land." He said, "No, I wait for my God." And then when it is, the water go higher, and he climb up into the another level of in his house, and then the motorboat come, and he said, "No, I will wait for my God to come to save me." And come to the point that he have to climb up to the roof, and the helicopter reached out and said, "Come on, let me pull you up and then bring you to the dry land." He said, "No, I wait for my God to save me." At that then he unfortunately he died, and he go to and then he go to heaven or wherever that he met his God. And he said, "You promised me that you will be there, and I keep on praying for you. You didn't come." He said, "What else you want me to do? I send the rowboat, I send the motorboat, and I send the helicopter, and you just don't accept it,
I love
And
that story. Yeah, Sean,
I
I'm
love
with you.
that story, and and I pray like heck, Brian. I'm telling you, on my journey, I do what I can, what I'm capable of, but I always pray because I believe in the power of prayer.
Yes, as do I. We've had a couple of questions posed from the comment section. Rob is asking, so fear is the all-encompassing term. Apprehension is a form of fear, but at a milder level. Yes, there are multiple forms of fear, just as anger. There are multiple forms of anger. It is the umbrella term.
I like what Sean said too about the irrational fear. The problem is we often let fear become irrational and become paralyzed by it.
Yes, that's
And
something that I've had to deal with and
too.
do deal with a lot over my lifetime.
And it's huge when you're up there looking down the side of a cliff, literally, that fear can really grip you. It does me. And I have to determine whether the fear is irrational or if it's realistic. Like I stood on top of the Empire State Building, not the King Kong top, where he climbs the towers or the antennas, but the actual platform. And I turned white as a ghost because of my fear. And I had to look around and say, well, look, there's 200, 300 people up here at the same time you're up here, and they're all doing fine. So your fear is irrational because nothing's going to happen unless planes come and hit this building. So
thought it through, right? You were able to think it through, to call on something else to be able to either reduce or eradicate the fear.
The irrational fear is what I really am concerned with. She always wants to say hi. But I think that irrational fear is the main thing that bothers me. I used to do the things that I am now afraid of, and it kills me. It was nothing to parachute out of an airplane. I've done it several times. I'm scared to death to actually do it now. So it bothers me.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Whereas a lot of mine is, I up in my head, I say it's irrational, but it is, I'll go back to that fear of people, places, and things, the inability to communicate, the inability to understand, the inability to, I was socially backward and awkward. All kinds of things. Yeah.
Can I tell you, I've never seen you socially backward. I've never seen
Thank you. I was. Trust me.
Was statement.
But it still pops up. It still pops up when I'm tired. Please believe me when I tell you I don't do surprises well. I don't. I just, I don't. And my husband has tried to give me lots of practice to cope with surprise, and it's not one of my strong suits.
Well,
So
now he's just trying to encourage you.
Absolutely. Been doing it for 25 years, and he just finally the most blessed words possible out of his mouth. I'm just going to stop trying to surprise you. Thank you. But again, that's a small thing. That one I have not selected to work on because it's not an element that I believe is important to my moving forward with my vision of what I want to be and what I want to do. If it were, then it would become the focus of how to cope, how to address, how to respond differently, and it would become a lot of practice. It's just not that important. So I've selected my priorities, one of which is, and this was quite a few years ago, again, when I started my business, I had to learn how to communicate. I had to learn beyond the words, beyond text. I could write to anybody. That's why social media honestly saved my butt and built my business, because I can type and write anything. That's a skill that I have. I can write, and I write very well, but I don't speak very well. And I didn't understand how to, I could up here understand the nuances of human behavior, but that's from study of psychology and abnormal psychology. So the science side, the neuroscience, I could get into and I could understand, but the actual communication like you and I are doing, Brian?
Who's defining normal?
I didn't say normal.
You said you did. You used a
well,
different...
psychology and abnormal psychology. Who's defining it is the sciences, and most of it was physical, organic issues with the brain. Yeah, so I studied that for a while. But again, that's a lot of where I'm coming from. I understand the faith factor, because I would not be here today without the faith that I have in something outside myself. And I'm able to tap into that. But I struggle with the absolute statement that says fear and faith cannot coexist. Because again, I have that visual and I do it now. When something frightens me and I pull in to do the prayer to get me through and bring in the other coping skills that I have, to me, I know it's not, but the visual is that the more I tap into the faith, the less the fear happens, but it's still there.
Could Napoleon Hill be wrong about that?
Absolutely, he could be, but that's why I'm struggling, and I think it's worthy of conversation and discussion, which is why I'm willing to talk about it like this, to see if anybody else sees or feels the same way, and that's why I loved when Ha jumped in to say it doesn't. And I understand, I actually get the visual of what you're saying, Ha. It's just not been my experience yet.
You see, when you talk about normal, I don't know what normal is, because
know.
Every day I woke up and said, okay, Ha, this is your new normal.
Yeah.
And I continue to work through it. And, from a timid quiet Asian woman, I become a lioness when my children depend on me.
Oh, you are so irrational, it's beyond.
Yeah, and I become a warrior.
That is irrational behavior, huh?
Yes, and when I become a warrior, that's when I just have to fight, to get what I want.
Well, we've just been bombed by Jennifer. I'll give you a moment. What the heck's going on?
Yeah, this is the Cleveland chapter of the American Marketing Association, and I'm talking to them about, of all things, social streaming. So I was like,
well, hello.
Perfect stream to jump on, because I was talking about how the most successful people in social streaming are doing things consistently, and I was talking about your book club.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, every weekday morning at 8:00 a.m., I read a few pages of Think and Grow Rich, and we discuss, and that's what's happening now. People who want to discuss what I've just read, I allow them in. Now, why did I allow Jennifer and allow her to bomb my blab is the next question, right? Because I trust Jennifer. I trust her from previous associations on social media, live streaming and otherwise. It tells me she is not going to do harm to our conversation. So welcome. Good to see you, everybody in Cleveland.
Thank you.
I concur. I don't think they will do any damage.
What was that, Jennifer?
Do you mind if I ask if anybody has any questions for you real quick before we?
Oh, go ahead.
Anybody have any questions?
How often do you do this?
How often do you do this was the question?
I've been doing this every weekday morning since early September, 8 o'clock Eastern time. It's only weekdays, Monday through Friday. I take the weekends off.
Great. Anybody else?
Is there like a business objective or is it purely personal?
Is there a business objective or is it purely personal?
It is a combination. And by that I mean I'm introducing myself to others. And so they understand who I am and why I do what I do and how I work, so that when they're attracted to me, they look on my profile, they ask for conversation afterwards, and otherwise I do not promote from this blab. I do promote from others that I host. And those are random, non-scheduled, because I will not commit to something like I'm doing with this. So it began as personal, but there's always an element of marketing. Being the marketing professional that I am, there's always an element of marketing to it. I'm very conscious of the fact that everybody who sees me here, I'm wearing my public face. And that if they ask, quite honestly, and those in the live stream and in the comment area should back me up on this, if even when they ask what I do, I deflect it, because the purpose of this blab is not about me.
Awesome.
So they appreciate that as well.
All right, Charlene, do you have a question?
Are there any technical issues that you may be running?
Oh, yes. Blab is in beta. I've been here every day that I can be. The two that I've not is big because Blab was broken, and it will break occasionally. Tech issues that Blab you always need to know about is with audio. You should always wear a headset or earbuds, and you should use Chrome as your browser first and Firefox as your second. It will not work on Safari.
That's right. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to let you back to your awesome book group, and thank you so much, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for dropping in, Jennifer. Appreciate it. Hey, join me weekday mornings, 8 o'clock. Look me up, Charlene Burke. Thank you in the live stream. Thank you, Brian and Han, everybody in the comment section for not railing against me for getting us distracted for a moment there.
Right.
I trust Jennifer, and that's why I let her in here. So I thought that was interesting.
I'm going to deal with Mutthead over here.
Oh, got that.
Run her down. So have fun. Been an interesting conversation.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for your contribution. Thank you. It's gotten me thinking, and I appreciate that. You know, that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for people to share their perspectives to help me to grow, and I appreciate that you're doing that. So, tell you what, I'm going to have to shut down in just a few minutes. And actually I'm going to go right over to my next room. I have a Wednesday morning professional networking meeting that I've committed to, and I committed to before I started this blab. And it's virtual networking for professionals, and I have a speaker, and then followed by introductions. Now, everybody here is welcome to join us. I'll give you the join link here. You're welcome to come over and introduce yourself, your business, learn something new. We're going to talk about finding your niche and marketing, that sort of thing. And that's it. So for the moment, I am going to shut down the recording, and then I have a few minutes. I'll be happy to answer any other questions in the comment section regarding tech or what we've been talking about. Okay, so stick with me, huh? So I want to thank everybody who's been in the live stream, including Jennifer Lehner, bringing in Cleveland American Marketing Association. How cool was that? And everybody in the comment section for participating in the discussion. Always greatly appreciated. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, grow our businesses. Until next